Welcome, welcome. I am the creator of Leonology, Leon Milton. I'm here today to, this is gonna be a longer video. I may make mistakes, may not be completely correct. And some of the stuff I say, definitely fact check me and do your own research. Also, just to give context, a lot of stuff that I understand or that I try to ponder about is original thought and original ideas. So and then I use those original ideas with pre-existing knowledge to come to outcomes of understanding that may be new or not super focused on and outside the realm of what like scientific method and stuff of that nature. So, but this video, I'm going to be talking about the current state of the world. You know, where the world right now is at a pretty difficult point, and Leonology is about, about helping human beings realize their potential, how to use that potential, and how to understand the reality that they're in, which is essentially the rules of the game that they're deciding on. You may hear some noises outside, have neighbors, dogs, kids playing. Hey, it's not about, right now, I'm not really about quality. It's more about getting that information out there as much as possible. So if you do hear things or you do hear some things throughout our video, I'll do my best to try to create an environment to where you'll still be able to get this information. But this is a needed video because in today's time, human beings are confused. Humans were told what reality was told who they were, and no one has taught us our divine power. No one has taught us our true potential. No one has really understood the rules of the game and in ways that a normal person like myself or a human or anyone can use it and better themselves, and I think that's ultimately it's not anyone's fault. Currently, this reality is going through an awakening process where people are maturing and being a greater, higher, energetic, informative, complex structure. It's happening to, just the world consciousness in itself. And we're at a fundamental point in time as to where we're evolving. Reality itself is evolving. And if people aren't upgrading themselves, evolving themselves, they're going to be unprepared for the new upgrades, unprepared for the new DNA, unprepared for the new world. That almost all religions say at some point the end times will bring about a change of environment, a change of reality. And a lot of people think like it's going to be war and destruction, and maybe it will be. But there's unseen, underlying energetic principles, foundational rules of reality that also this reality has to follow by. And we don't understand it. Our modern science cannot explain reality to the level that we can resonate and use it. I could watch documentaries about animals. I can watch cosmology videos. I can look at cool science tricks. But at the end of the day, how can I use the understanding that we've cultivated, not for technology, not for any external source to become better, but how I can become better as a human, not a citizen for a society, but as a human being born in this world? What does that even mean? So this is going to be straight raw, straight real, straight knowledge, divine understanding, new ideas, all going to be presented in this video. And I may ramble, I may go through tangents and stuff like that. This video is not about trying to create a form of knowledge that everyone can resonate with. This is about just getting the knowledge out there, getting the video out there, and simply put, what is reality? So, what is reality? Okay, we have to understand. I'm going to be using this board a lot. I may set it down. I'm sorry, there's some glare. I'll try my best to transition it for the video. But what is reality? What is reality? Real it T. What is real? That's the fundamental question when it comes to human history. We've always wondered what's actually real, what's true, what's false. That's why we have science, because it gives us practicality to figure out what is fiction, applicable knowledge, manifestation, and utility in our world, and what is non-fiction, which is utility in our world, and what is fiction, unapplicable aspects, ideas, and manifestations in our world. Sorry about that. And science does very well verifying and giving us consistent outcomes, and then building on top of those consistent outcomes higher complexities, higher consistency, manifestations, results, and outcomes. And that's great tool, but there's infinite and eternal tools, and I'm gonna get in that into a second, but we need to go to our first point: energy and information. What exactly am I speaking about when I say that? Get my notes out here. Sorry about that, guys. What is reality? Right? That's, you think about it. What is it? Is it a society? Is it Earth? Is it Earth? What is it? That's the fundamental question. We don't know. Let's make it simple. No one knows exactly what reality is in its totality, because it's too complex, it's too vast, it's too big to truly understand it. But you can get close as possible. Referencing science again, there's always a person that comes in and totally flips the understanding of reality upside down. We used to think that the whole universe revolved around Earth, that the sun revolved around Earth, and then we realized, no, we revolve around the sun. And even then, there's a greater complexity of space and galaxies. So the point is, reality and our understanding of it is constantly changing and constantly becoming more complex. Yet, for some reason, and it's, let's just be honest, it's human hubris. It's our arrogance that we could do so much. We think we have everything figured out, and what we don't figure out, we'll eventually figure it out. It's not important. It's ridiculous. We have to stop with this finite collapsed state of saying that we know so much, so we're the masters of our reality. We control it all. No. Matter of fact, reality isn't Earth. It isn't society. It isn't humans. Reality is the energetic, informative containment field of potentiality. What does that mean? This example right here. You see this rectangle, and you see all these dots and squiggly lines, but at the center, there's a finite point. That's reality. You could look at it this way. The lines of the rectangle, that's where all reality begins. That's the divine laws of our world. That's the divine laws of our reality. This is how gravity behaves in certain energetic potentials manifested, how space reacts, how orbits react, how consistency of form, how light and dark and polarity exist. There's so many divine laws that our reality has to abide by. Divine laws has to be embedded in reality. They exist no matter what by this reality existing. So the rectangle is divine laws, and the squiggly lines and all that, that's energetic information. Energy and information come into form to manifest potential. chemicals, interactions, energy, space, matter, whatever you want to, everything foundationally is energy intermixed with information. Well, then the question becomes, okay, well, what is energy and what is information? I always thought energy was like how much gasoline to put in my car or electricity. Well, yeah, there are variations of energy, but at the foundation, what is it? Potential in action. It's the potential to activate. It's the potential of potential. This is why when you have energy, you want to move, you want to express it, you want to use it. But a misconception we have in our reality is that energy is about quantity. Energy is about quality and quantity. Energy is about how high quality you can generate, and then based on that quality determines what you can even use it for. That's something that we're not taught and we don't even understand, that as a human we can generate energy, and we do so constantly. When you're tired, you go to sleep, you wake up, you have energy. The question is, what energy are you generating? What energy are you cultivating? Is it high quality energy and you're able to use it to have greater quality of manifestations and expressions? Most of the time, no. Most of the time, because we're not taught energetic laws, properties, or refinement, we consider energy like quantity. We drink an energy drink, or we eat a whole bunch of food and, oh, I got a whole bunch of energy. You have a lot of energy, low level energy, low quality energy. But I don't want to go too deep. There's a whole practicality we can go into energy. But at the end of the day, energy is potential. And then information. Well, what's that? People would say, well, is information like data, like you put it in a computer? No. I'm about to get some water in a second. But no. Information is energetic configuration. This is something that I really have to explain, because this is foundational laws. Information exists regardless of humans being here or not. Human beings didn't create information. Information, which is essentially the practicality of description of functionality of what's in our world. What can happen, what can't happen, what's manifested, what's not manifested, how we review it, how we document it, etc. But at the core foundation, information is simply the energetic configuration of aspects, forms, and potentiality within our world. Just how you have a dog, and dogs have certain characteristics. Well, dogs are simply an energy with information. That information, which is essentially the configuration of energy, matches with the vibration and collapse state of what a dog is supposed to be at a fundamental level. So the dog, it's not that information is outside of the dog or not the dog. No, information is honestly a made-up word, but it's energy. It's the reflection of what energy is. It's the configuration of energy. So once you have energy and then you configure it with information, which is how that energy is formed, it takes on descriptive, functional potential. Just how if I said, okay, I'm going to make these specific rules, then I'm going to put energy, then I'm going to put information within that energy to how it reacts, how the potential that can be expressed, the form that this specific energy take compared to this, the interactions of those energies. It's all taking shape to create an energetic, informative containment field where all you have to do is let the energies interact. Complex entropy is going to force complexity. That complexity is going to lead to refinement, because some information is just going to be of greater threshold of coherency than other information. And then that energetic, informative manifestation, no matter what it is, will continue to be stable over others. Even if that version becomes unstable, that the entropy will always push reality to create refinements of itself. That's the purpose of entropy and of difficulties. So, when a reality is made, you could look at it as the laws is made, the field of containment is made. So now in that field of containment, specific laws have to be expressed, and everything within those laws have to abide by those divine laws. Then the energy and information within here, whatever information and potential that God source allowed to be inputted in this information, then it just is going to start taking form. And it could take years, billions of years for certain manifestations to come, but that's what it is, energy and information. You just put energy, which is potential in action, and then you give that potential in action specific form, duties, and requirements, and then it interacts with all these other variations, and it's an infinite and eternal spiral of creation. Okay? So that's what energy and information ultimately is foundationally. And everything is energy and information. That's the secret, that's the origin, that's the foundation. As a human, humans are energetic informative structures. We are also energy and information. We are simply vibrating at different frequencies and in different configurations to give us form that is different than other configurations. A cup is not the same configuration as myself. A tree is not the same configuration as myself, but it's closer than a cup. So we have to keep that in mind. At the foundation of everything, it's energetic potentiality. Then you can put that energetic potentiality in specific containment fields. You can create, the laws and rules and regulations, and you can let the energy just go. And because of these rules and reality, everything created, even the internet, even data that we create ourselves, has to still follow these rules and regulations. There's no getting around it. Even if you tap into another dimension like the internet, the creation of the internet was only applicable and only possible because the laws within reality itself allowed it. Keep that in mind. All the potential and ideas we create are already created. We simply discover them. Okay? So let's move to our next thing, which is the singularity. Where is all this potential coming from? That's another thing. People say, well, what created God? And well, if everything's already made and everything's already known, where did it come from? I don't understand. Like, nothing came from something. Well, you have to understand, not everything is going to be explained. Not all knowledge and truth is going to be revealed to us. And God's source operates in ways beyond our comprehension. So these kind of loops that people create to try to denounce God, or they try to make God seem less powerful than it is, or humans, even to think that humans can understand their own creator and everything that had to occur for that creation to happen, is absolutely ridiculous to me. That's like saying to a person, I don't believe you made this TV because, where'd you get all this knowledge to even make a TV from? It was already created. I've never seen it. And it just creates a back and forth that, maybe some people are just out of their complexity, right? But we have to be humble here. That's ultimately what Socrates, taught me, is to be humble when it comes to the crazy knowledge of this world. Because it's too much for anyone to understand, or any even civilization or age of civilization to understand. But everything came from God's source. God's source is, my back wall, but it's a unified energetic information singularity, which essentially means that everything that's created in our world came from a finite point. That finite point was energetic information from divine source. So all things originate from a source point, which is what you call God. All manifestations, all creation, all laws, all potentials, all dimensions, everything is from God's source, and there's no getting around that. People could fight it as much as they want. People could complain. People could think the rules of this reality is rigged or unfair, or God source is not doing whatever the case may be, but it's irrelevant. People say, I don't believe in God, but God believes in you. We're in this reality no matter what we say or think, and it doesn't really matter if you want to be a participant in the awakening process, in understanding God or not. It's happening. And with everything happening in the world, it should be kind of obvious that physicality is not all there is, no matter how many scientists or opposition wants to tell you that. There is a higher battle, a higher spiritual essence, higher dimensions, higher realities. And at the center of all of it is source. God's source creates everything. You can find God in a cup, in a book, in an expression, in sports, and watching a TV show. But why is that? Because the origin of everything we create is from God. And if you really tap hard enough and you have the comprehension for it, everything will always lead back to God's source, because that's the originator, the Alpha and Omega. Keep that in mind. So in this reality, it's the foundation of it is energy and information. And then all that energy and information, the configuration of our entire reality came from source. And here's a secret that I think a lot of people get confused on, is that our reality is just one reality. It has infinite and eternal potentials of how this reality can collapse from its own probability field. But at the same time, there's other realities that obviously have different laws and alls. Other realities may be completely good or completely bad, or a mixture of a complete twilight, or it could be, different severities of how much evil and good, or good and evil, or certain energies are supposed to have different configurations of how that reality can express itself. So, that's another thing. We keep thinking like all of existence has to be a reflection or variation of our reality. No, not at all. This reality is one manifested form, because we lose our memories when we come here, and then we're conditioned through our experience on earth. We think this is the only thing that there is. But no, we have heaven, Garden of Eden, multiple religions, have other forms, Valhalla, other forms of other dimensions. So they exist, but we are temporarily here in this 3D world, in this reality. And every reality has different laws, rules, and regulations. And so you'll be wise to learn yours, learn the rules, regulations, and potentials that you have in this reality, just as if you were playing a game like Monopoly. You wouldn't just roll the dice and not know anything about the game and hope you just understand it by playing through it. You would read the rules, you would read the rules, you would try to understand the best strategy for yourself, and you would try to play in a way that makes sense to you. But what is the rules of this world? What are the rules of being a human? Nobody tells you, nobody informs you. We don't know. And we've been given fabricator rules by sophisticated minds that have told us that this is not true, but believe us when we say this, and this is true, even if it goes against your own experience. So keep that in mind. Everything comes from God's source. So all the energetic information that has manifested to create the totality of our reality came from God's source. And all pathways of knowledge, manifestations, or interactions, or understandings all lead to God's source, no matter what form of that pathway it takes. A lot of people get stuck in one belief system, and they think, oh, that one belief system leads to God's source, so all other belief systems are false, all incorrect. Believe me and persecute and attack all others. This is simply ignorance at its finest. There are infinite and eternal pathways to God. There's infinite and eternal pathways to becoming strong. There's infinite and eternal pathways to become skinny, to run a business, to express yourself. And everything is like that in our world. So keep that in mind. It's even so funny when people, yeah. Let's move on. I don't want to go too deep into that. And then the third thing I want to talk about is physical manifestation, the collapsed state, I like to call it. I want to start off with this example, okay? If I'm at a decision point and I can go left or I can go right, what does that mean? Both left and right exist as conceptual potentials. Before I make that decision, left is not going to disappear and my choice to go right is not going to disappear. They're going to always exist eternally. And the variation of how I go left and how I go right exists into infinite potentials and numerable potentials. They always exist. So once I choose to go left instead of going right, that doesn't mean that right doesn't exist. It just means the collapsed state in this physical reality has been chosen for this person to go left because that person chose to go it. So it's similar things when it comes to let me see. When it comes to collapsed states, every form, I'm going to talk about Plato here. Every form in Plato's theories of ideas exist higher to lesser forms. The higher form is more relatable to God's source. The lower forms are a grotesque, lesser reflection of God's source. This could be a chair, an apple, whatever the case may be. But this is just what I'm getting at, is that paper existed before we made it. TVs existed before we made it. Basketball existed before we made it. We exist in a world that has infinite and eternal potentials, even within collapsed state of things. We could do a lot with paper, a lot with plastic, a lot with the color black, a lot with chairs. There's a lot of forms and potential in this world. It's infinite and it's eternal. So when you have, like, for example, a chair, and that chair is brown and it has a standard form, 4 legs at the bottom, a back that you could, that you can lay into, and a cushion. Okay, cool. Beautiful chair. Okay. Just because that chair existed, that doesn't mean, oh, wow, we made 200 chairs. There's no more chairs we can make. We ran out of chairs. No. You may run out of the materials to make the chair, but you're never going to run out of the potential of that chair to manifest and be created. And that's everything. Everything in this reality, no matter, it could be an expression, it could be how you dress, it could be the food you eat and how you eat it. It could be the careers you have and how you express yourself within that career. It could be so many things. Everything, physical, emotional, expression, all of it is essentially has infinite and eternal potentials. So it's like people become a mailman and they think like they have to become that. They have to reflect what it means to be a mailman. That's their life. That's who they are. They can't be anything else. Wrong. Tom the mailman can be a positive mailman, a negative mailman, on-time mailman, a late positive mailman. So many variations. Science can be in so many different variations. So many. So that's the fundamental truth of this world. Everything you see around you, all creation, even trees, existed conceptually until that energy and information was manifested to create form, in consistent form by divine law. And just because trees grow a certain way and all. Reality doesn't mean that they couldn't have been other things in other worlds and other realities that we haven't connected to. So just think about that. There's infinite and eternal variations of potentials happening and occurring in our world. And we need to take a step back and not focus so strongly on what's created and start really contemplating on what could be rather than what is. And so that is a fundamental of what is reality, the first point. That is energy and information. It all comes from God's source. And those infinite and eternal potential that always exists for manifestation to occur. And everything has essentially probability fields, which is how that potential can manifest from the present moment to the future moment. Cats have it, humans have it. You could even say TV shows have it. Anything that has potential to manifest in a different way in the future has probability fields, which is essentially the potential that it can manifest in the world in the future sense. So keep that in mind. Those are the 3 points. Second, we're going to go to who are you foundationally. So keep that in mind. Those infinite eternal potentials, we all originate from source, and everything's energy and information. Now we're about to get to number 2. Who are you foundationally? All right, welcome. We're moving on to number 2, which is who are you really? What is a human? What does it mean to be human? It's funny because everything we know and have been taught about what a human is, what we're supposed to do, and what potentials we're capable of was made by other humans who just agreed that, oh yeah, this is what a human is, and let's tell other people this. Well, sure, human beings have general qualities and interactions and experiences that are cohesive and similar to other people. Both feel fear, both feel love, both majority of the time want a family, stuff of that nature. But we need to also understand that human beings are generally unknown. We really are unknown creatures. We don't really know the full potential. We can't analyze ourselves like we do dogs or lions or hippos or other animals, because they have low comprehension. Even if a hippo could fly or do amazing things, they're only going to do what's generally natural to them. They're not going to really tap into their potential because they don't know how, unless there's an external force that pushes them to do so. For example, we've taught apes, gorillas, sign language. Coco the monkey. Sign language, how to speak, how to talk, and we've trained dogs to do certain tricks and lions to behave a certain way. That's potential that they always have. Like, human beings think like, without us, these animals couldn't enact this potential, but no, they have that potential within them regardless of what humans do, but they don't have the capacity to use it well because they don't have the comprehension. That's what essentially human beings are different. We're different because we actually have the comprehension. We actually can analyze, review, and see what human beings are capable of. We can see how much potential we can use and how to use it, okay? That's one, but there's so many things, but just fundamentally, we don't know what a human is. We have a lot of science, data, studies, and experiences showing what past humans were capable of and what we currently think humans are capable of, but we don't really know. And the only one who can even know your potential is yourself. But let's get to the foundation. What are we and who are we? Well, number one, we're lesser reflections of source. That's who we are. No matter how you want to justify it, explain it, comprehend it, or state it, we are reflections of source. That doesn't mean like, don't get too big-headed with that, because a cup is a reflection of source. A chair is a reflection of source. Their ability to think and ponder is a reflection of source. Anger is a reflection of source. Good and evil are reflections of source. Everything's a reflection of source. The question becomes, if you are a reflection of source, okay, well, if everything is also a reflection of source, what does that mean? Are we constrained to the forms we exist in? And that's what you mean? No, I don't even mean that. I mean, whatever form you exist in, I exist in a human form, you foundationally are connected to God's energy, to God's source's energetic potential. Okay, so if that's the case, if we're literally created from the same energy potential that God used to make the stars and this entire reality and everything else, what does that mean? Well, that's a good question. Where it means that we should be able to, I don't know, possibly do things that that are like kind of superior in terms of like, we may be able to do things that we don't understand or comprehend, and that can be used in ways to empower us, disempower us, control us, manipulate us, understand reality better. My whole point is, I don't know exactly how this potential will be used, but the main point is that we must have greater potentials than we understand if we're reflections of God's source itself, and we are made of stardust, we are made of energy, and we also have comprehension. That's the biggest difference. We are able to comprehend who we are, where we are, and what we should do about it. So yeah, you need to really accept that you are a lesser reflection of source with high complexity and high comprehension within potential itself. Now, how you use this is up to you. But like, I'll give you a few examples, your emotions can be a superpower. Your ability to think could be a superpower. Your ability to adapt and understand and reintegrate and remember, and all these things are amazing abilities and gifts that we have. And people don't think, how can I refine my memory? How can I refine my comprehension? How can I elevate to higher levels of potential and abilities I currently have? I feel like a lot of people think like there aren't levels. You can get better at a lot of things, emotions, understanding them, interacting with them, generating them. There's so many ways to use our abilities and gifts as humans. And a lot of people, because we've been so desensitized from being a human. We don't find the magic and joy of being alive anymore because we can't do what TV shows can do. We can't fly like Superman, or we can't pick something up like the Hulk and throw it miles and stuff like that. But okay, that's that reality. This reality, we have specific gifts and abilities we can use, but obviously at not that high severity, okay? But the main point is, you are a reflection of God's source. That doesn't mean that you are the totality of source. A lot of people in the spiritual community, they have these epiphanies, these revelations of how they're connected to something greater, something universal, something unified, which is source. And because they find source in their specific pathway, they confuse it with, they think that they are God, or that they have some unrecognizable higher superior power. Everyone has access to God's source. If you want to be rigid-minded and think your way is the only way, just look at history. A lot of people thought that same way. There's so many different ways. God's source is all things that could be, would be, should be, but they're all closer reflections of source, meaning that, like the prophets. You could say the prophets, Jesus, individuals who chose to take steps to refine their consciousness, refine their connection to divinity, and connect to that higher source that's connected to all of us. But you have to put an effort to cultivate that connection and understand how. God's source doesn't speak to everyone the same way. Some people get messages. Some people get random videos. Some people get synchronicities, numbers. You know, you got to think in the Bible, prophets used to go and speak to other prophets. John the Baptist, how did he know it was Jesus? He just knew. And that's like people to people, that God speaks to people. God can speak to anyone however they want. But generally, God would speak to you in a way that you can comprehend and understand. But let's not go too deep here. Let's remember, we are all lesser reflections of God. We're not no one is the totality of God's source, but we are all lesser reflections connected to God's source. So you can become closer connected. That's how, raise your frequency and vibration. But the whole point is we have a lot more potential than we know. If we're a reflection of the highest source of all creation, and within our veins, within our body, within our spirit, we hold potential like that. There's probably things that we're doing in this reality that we don't even think is amazing, or think is supernatural, or think is normal, and yet it's affecting multidimensional areas and potential manifestations that we really don't know. But so at the end of the day, you're a lesser reflection of source. So everything's a divine being. It's that simple. Everything is amazing because it comes from source, God's source. So the question becomes, since you know that about yourself, how much potential, power, and connection can you align yourself to be able to do amazing things in this world? Even if that's being able to deal with negativity, to be a healer, to give out positivity, or to even do things that may possibly bend the rules of reality, bend the divine laws in your favor. You can't overcome the divine laws, but you can definitely align with them and use them in ways that possibly no one else has before, Let's move on to number 2. Energetic core. What is your energetic core? Okay, so this is what you really specifically, foundationally, you're a lesser reflection of source because your energy and information manifested, configured by source to be who you are. Okay, so how does that really occur? Well, I can't really say how it occurs, but it's your energetic core. Your energetic core creates the structure within your human form. Why are some people good at talents? Or why are some people can sing really well, remember things really well? Some people are naturally gifted at exercising or physical fitness, or they really resonate with games or these specific drawing, stuff like that. Why? How? Why were you born smart and smarter than someone else in terms of like engineering or understanding structure and stuff of that nature? Because it's within your core. Because everything is energy and information, energetic information, okay? So obviously someone's energetic core that is put in a human, or let's just say a baby and born in this world, they're already resonating with certain energetic manifestations before they even are aware of why they are doing that. For example, obviously I like to think and I like to ponder and I like to tap into comprehension. So I like blueberries. And I used to always think, why do I like blueberries? Why? What do they do? So I looked up blueberries, and they have antioxidants. And antioxidants help with repairing neurons in your brain, and it helps improve your brain health. So blueberries aligned with my energy because at my foundation energetic core, I like to think and ponder about reality. And that's going to take a toll on my mind and my brain. So what's going to resonate with me is things that resonate with that energy, which is blueberries. So That's just an example, but yes, there you are born with an energetic configuration, like a blueprint. I call it the energetic core. Some people refer to it as spirit. Some people refer to it as, their true selves. Well, however you refer to it, your energetic core is essentially embedded information of your true identity, which is your energetic, informative, spiritual form, not your physical human body and its characteristics. Just because you're a human and you have a certain race and you're a certain height and you have certain parents, that's not the true you. That's the 3D aspects that were needed to occur for your manifestation to even occur. You needed parents. You needed a body. You needed to. Your body had to accept the rules and regulations for a baby to be born. So you had to have a race. You had to have a gender. So all these things are just to say, like, what determines the human once it's born as a baby, and it's your energetic core. Your energetic core is what you truly are, what you truly resonate. Why some people want to be a teacher over a doctor, why some people want to be a nurse over a football player, why some people would choose certain pathways of possibilities, certain potentials to tap into over others, and because it resonates with them. And when you tap and reveal your core, you're able to see the world in ways to say, oh, I'm not going to do this because it does not resonate with my core. So if it doesn't resonate with my core, it's going to create difficulties. It's going to create resistance. You ever did something, you're like, ooh, I don't really want to do that. I don't really want to tap into that. Well, it fundamentally goes against you. I'll give you a quick example. If you have someone who has an energetic core to be a healer, to spread positive energy, to be a kind person in this world, that's not the best person to send to war or to send to fight or to join a fighting competition, because they're too nice. They fundamentally, functionally don't truly want to hurt anyone. So their power is going to be, they can still do it, but it's just they're not going to be able to do it at a higher quality because it's not resonating with their core. Once you understand your core, you have to understand what resonates with your core, because the things that resonate with your core, music, food, the information you watch and digest, the people you hang around with, if it's not resonating with your core, with your true self, you're always going to find difficulties. You're always going to find a void in your life because your purpose is aligned with your core. Learn the core, learn your purpose, then you know what resonates with you, and you know what you like to do, what brings you genuine joy, while simultaneously fulfilling your appetite for life. People call that passion. Oh, when you're passionate about something, yeah, passion is a direct response of your core saying, hey, this is it. This is what we need to be tapping into, and other variations of this. So just keep that in mind. We all have an energetic core. Our energetic core / spirit, you want to call it spirit if it's easier, determines the kind of form, resonance, and potential that's going to be expressed and connected to foundationally in that person's life. That doesn't mean they can't choose other things. That doesn't mean that they can't choose things that are aligned with their core and things that are not. That's how you grow. That's how you refine. You ever ate something and said, oh my God, this is terrible. I thought it would be good. Well, now you know your core does not resonate with this food, and you probably should disregard it and other variations of it. But at the same time, you never know exactly how it's all going to work out. This is something that needs to be experienced. Too much conceptuality in this is understand your core, and then you understand your potentials, the potentials you can connect to in this world, and you more than likely will get better results because you're connecting to things that really truly resonate with you. You gotta think about that. Okay. And then we have to go to co-creator. So we know you come from source ultimately, that you have an energetic core, a spirit that has pre-embedded information, energetic configurations that allow you to resonate and connect to things that are aligned with your core easier than others. But okay, what am I in this place? I got a core and source exists. You're a co-creator. You are a co-creator. What is God's source? This is why it's super important. What is God's source? God's source, if anything, is a creator. So by being reflections of source, we'll also create, and having comprehension, you could just be rational and say, wow, we have the potential to use energy, to use materials, to use information, to think and ponder, to reshape, refine ourselves, to evolve. All that is a creator, a grand creator. You're a creator. All human beings are co-creators. They're comprehending and understanding God's aspects, materials, power, potential, physically and non-physically, and then using it to manifest and discover things that are not manifested yet in this world, and then manifest it. We take things from the conceptual realm and then we manifest it into the physical realm. We tap into probability states of this reality to bring about manifested inventions and creations that are honestly discovered. There's nothing we can think of that God has not already created. The reason why you can have a thought and think and ponder is because that information already exists within God's source, and you simply connect to it and discover it. And the closest thing we could get to creation is that you're the first one to discover it from the conceptual realm and bring it into the physical world. So that's the closest you get to creation, but you are truly a co-creator. That's, that can have many different interpretations, definitions, and understandings, but let's make it simple. You're going to create your experience. You're going to create who you are. You're going to create which energies you connect to, which kind of person you want to be in this world, what evolution you're going to take, what knowledge and information you're going to tap into, integrate, and express. You're a co-creator, and you're always creating. Animals create, reality itself creates, Earth create, galaxies create. But this is the thing, human beings, because we have comprehension, because we have awareness, we're able to create at such a high severity that we can make things like the internet or TVs or movies, artificial intelligence. We can make a lot of things that naturally just could not be possible without the mind. Like, you're not just gonna randomly say, oh wow, this tree made artificial intelligence through a computer, and oh my God, I found a computer tree. No, computers had to be created by a higher intelligence because there's too many factors of understanding, interactions, testing that are non-natural in terms of not needing that much direction. You need a lot of direction to make computers. So we're co-creators. We make inventions, we make houses, we make so much. We're all co-creators. That's what you truly foundationally are. You are energy and information configured by source. You have a specific energetic core that it's your spirit, it's who you truly are. The essence of who you are. And then as a human being manifested as a 3D form, you're here to co-create and make some stuff. And how exactly you want your process of creation to be, how exactly you want that co-creative process to occur, that's up to you. God has gave you complete free will to do as you may. But obviously, no matter what kind of creator you become, you're still bounded by the rules of reality. You're still going to have to deal with consequences. Those consequences can manifest in many different ways. There are certain energies that you connect to that has outcomes that have to occur. I'll give you an example. Darkness is negativity. Negativity is essentially fear. an easy way. And all other things that generate fear and negativity really come from fear. But where does fear come from? This is the ultimate origin of negative energy. And it's not really negative, that's just our perception of it. But it's void energy. What is void energy? Void energy is essentially energy that resonates with the vibration of the void. Okay, what's the void? The void is unmanifested potential that all exists in unity. So void energy wants anything that connects to negative energy, that essence of that energy wants unity through destruction and unmanifestation. It wants creation to revert back to its most natural state, and that's the void. The void state is creation's most natural state because it's creation before the potential actualized. It's potential before it was activated, manifested, and expressed. So when you tap into negativity, in any way, shape, or form, you tap into that energy, and that energy wants to destroy you. It influences anyone that touches it, uses it, and generates it to come back to its source, which is the void state. That's why you see people who tap into negativity and it just looks like they're becoming more destructive, more chaotic, but that's because that energy is destroying the creation within them, their own power, and then becoming closer and closer reflections of void state. But just keep that in mind. And same thing with creation. Creation energy is the opposite. It creates coherency. It creates stabilization. It creates continuous. And, creation energy is more powerful than the void state. Well, I'm sorry, I shouldn't say that. Creation and void, there's not that either one are more powerful. They're both needed. Creation comes from the void, and void energy just simply has the aspect of wanting to return back to its source. It wants all of creation to return. So you just got to understand the energetic principles of what you're using as a co-creator, because you could tap in, generate, and create something with energy that, if you have negative energy and you start a business or you start a project, that project at its foundation, it's structured to end. It's structured to have a negative ending unless you change it consciously at the foundational root. So just keep that in mind. As a co-creator, there's always consequences or risk involved, but that's what you are. You're energetic core, reflection from source that's here to co-create. And you have pre-embedded information, abilities, potentials that you uniquely have to utilize that. Good luck. Next, we'll talk about, now that you know the potential that's within, what exactly can you do with that potential in this reality? All right, now we're going to talk about what are you capable of in this reality. Your energetic core taking a temporary residency within a human body. You're a reflection of source. You have untapped potential that humans really don't understand or recognize currently, but we're starting to. And we're inside an energetic informative structure that has divine laws that determine how energy and information interact with each other, what can manifest, what can potentialize, what can interact, etc. But what exactly are you capable of? So we live in an energetic informative reality where energy precedes information, and energy literally can reconfigure informational pathways, thresholds, and interactions. You yourself as an energetic being, a co-creator. But what exactly does all that mean? What are you capable of? So this is the issue. An example is this, we can go over magic, witches, unseen supernatural power, but the reality is this. Everyone has hidden abilities and power. The ones we don't recognize or don't understand, we want to call demonic or put a negative label on it. But in reality, it's just nothing. It's just this. Okay, so there are actual, I'm going to go over 3, but there's powers like emotion, can be a power. Emotional control could be a power. Emotional transmutation, redirection, that could be a power. Thinking, comprehending, understanding complex systems, all these are definitely human powers. You know, we need to not compare our power system to like cartoons, anime, or unrealistic fiction. You know, humans have powers, just not on the high severity of what we watch on TV. So you gotta think about that, you know, and you gotta think about it. So you have to use reality alignment to understand your power. And this is the thing, everyone has the power of creation, which is essentially God's essence within them. If they recognize that, then some people may have similar powers, aka there may be, all humans have similar potential to use power, but the manifestation and utility of that power will be uniquely designed for that individual. Just how everyone has unique fingerprints, everyone has unique energetic cores, and those energetic cores resonate with certain configurations of reality and has certain operational aspects and alignment, function, essentially. Because that's essentially what purpose is in a human. What is essentially your function? What is your resonancy? What is your energetic vibration and the totality of that vibration? And that's what we're here to understand. Essentially, you know, to make it simple, human beings are capable of manipulating, refining, transmuting, mastering energy. And energy is the foundation of reality. So exactly what you can do with that energy is only limited by the divine laws of reality. But what is the divine laws? What are we capable of doing? What are we not able to do? Are there really laws, or is it not self-imposed? It's a lot of things, but at the end of the day, you have to find out your own power. You have to figure out your own configuration. You have to figure out what you're capable of. Nobody can tell you, nobody can tell you what you can and can't do, what your potential is. It's hidden from every single body but you and God. So you have to figure out your potential. And also, you may tap into unrecognized potential. You may tap into something that has not been even tapped into yet. So let's go over these. These are 3 things that I myself have went over. There are 3, let's just say, abilities I use every single day to navigate choices, to navigate situations, experiences I go through, and to use them in ways that benefit me. Let's talk about it. So let's talk about probability clouds. What's a probability cloud? So probability clouds, this is a scientific term it's like, so there was a double slit experiment where the electron essentially would be fired, a photon electron be fired, and it had, like 2 things blocking it, but there was a slit in the middle. And they would shoot it, and they started to realize that it moves as a wave, but it collapses as a particle. Meaning that when an unobserved photon, proton in an experiment was fired, it became a wave of probability, meaning that it had potentials connecting from its present experience and then collapsed into a present state by either, I'm assuming, by the interaction of external force to stop it, like a wall or a backdrop or something like that, or consciousness. They would say when they put up a tool to observe it, that it did not go into the wave of probability. It stayed as the particle, as the more physical form. But when unobserved, it goes to a probability state, which all possible potentials within the present moment of that form exist in, and it goes into it. So that's generally what a probability cloud is on a scientific term. But through Leonology, probability clouds are simply your potential in the present moment of what could occur. That's it, of what could be the next moment. Going to my left and right both exist as a probability cloud before I make the choice. And then a lot of other things exist in that moment as well as left and right, or a combination of left and right. So your probability cloud, it's essentially, as a human, it's your potential in the present moment of how you can manifest the future state of reality, the future state of potential. For example, if I'm walking down the street and I understand who I am, the experiences, the energetic information that resonates to me, that I interact with based on my environment, my state of mind, who I am, my common interactions, my patterns of reality, essentially, right? Once I can understand that, understand who I am internally and externally, how that person, that character of who I am interacts with reality, I can then use the probability cloud to discern the experiences I'm going to more than likely encounter, and how I can probability navigate through these experiences and reality to get towards experiences that better serve me and my purposes. That's why the probability cloud is so important, because it allows you to understand your potential in the present moment and then navigate that potential for future experiences that best serve you. It's just understanding your potential in the present moment. And of course, you have infinite and eternal potential. So of course, you're not going to be able to understand the entire probability cloud, but just understanding it enough to know the area I live in is not so good. I'm wearing new clothing with some jewelry. Let me tap into my probability cloud. Let me see my potential. Let me see the interaction of my potential going out into the environment and reality I am locally in. And then let me understand the potential consequences that could occur and the potential benefits. And then I'm going to make decisions that better serve me in reference of my comprehension of all these factors. So it's definitely complex systems, interacting with complex systems, and understanding that to a higher level. But at the end of the day, this is something I use. I tap into my probability cloud all the time because I want to prepare myself for the experiences, even if they don't happen, even if they're not that important. I just want to understand my potential experiences. And I think it's super important. It helps me understand how to position myself in reality, how to position myself when it comes to people, understanding other people's probability cloud, not just my own. What potentials are they expressing? What are things that they are using to enact, manipulate, refine, or attract to their reality? And it's important, because if you have someone who their probability cloud is negativity and the focus on negative habits, negative mindsets, and negative things, that also has negative consequences. If you allow that person to come near you and you consistently interact with them without boundaries, you can become in their probability cloud. And if you let them take control or you put their faith in them, you limit your probability cloud activation and access, and you give it to them. And so now you're living reality through another person's perception, ability, and experiences. You have to be careful of that. Definitely understand yours, and understanding others is pretty important as well. Moving on to the second is energetic perception. Energetic perception is essentially the ability to discern the different variations and severities of energetic information to determine the most likely outcomes of that potential, the manifestations of that potential, and the possible interactions if you would deal with them or if they're dealing with other people. So for example, you could say the casino. The casino is a creation of many things, a manifestation of many things, but at the core, it's greed. The energy of a casino is greed. The energy of a fast food place is gluttony. So there are underlying energies to manifestations. Even a person who is very angry, very upset, or very envious, or a friend who's just constantly jealous. Oh, give me a sec. Who's constantly jealous of second. Oh my God. Sorry about that. Someone called me, but like I said, going back to energetic perception is understanding the fundamental functional energy of the creation, and no matter how it manifests or the different ways it manifests, because there's a lot of things happening. Because now food, people are winning, so some people are laughing, and it could be positive experiences and stuff like that. But at the core, it's greed. So at the core, you're going to be dealing, no matter how you interact with greed, you're going to be dealing with the variations and the consequences of dealing with greed energy. So you kind of have to be aware of that. Be aware that, that there are functional, foundational energies in this world that exist no matter of what we say it is. We kind of like to put labels on like love or envy or depression, and we create our descriptions, but we have to remember, human interpretation is not fact, it's inference. The only thing that determines fact of this reality is the creator, the one who made it, God, or reality itself, the laws of reality. So when you feel love or feel fear or feel emotions, that is natural, energetic interactions of reality with embedded information. Love has, we can't change love. We may be able to change the human body of how we interpret, understand it, comprehend, or maybe feel love, but we can never change the fundamental reality of love and how it generates within us, within animals, etc. We didn't create love. The creator, God source, did. So, but with energetic perception, you're able to see the energies. But energetic perception is not just seeing energy in real time. It's not like you're seeing magical energy fly away. You're seeing the effects of the energy. And then because you see the effects, you're able to discern it. And some people with high perception is able to feel it. I can feel energy all the time. I feel when people are angry or loving or positive or negative, even if they say nothing to me. It's the sense you have, but it's a practical sense. It's a gift, and some people are very sensitive to it, some people are not. But at the end of the day, energetic perception is the comprehension of energy and the discernment of how to interact with that energy when it comes your way, and also to be able to understand the manifestations of certain energy. So I'm not going to go, for example, to a club, because a club has a lot of sin energy. Well, you know, even if you want to take away sin and the biblical format of it, well, it's a lot of drunk people. It's just, to be honest, I don't want to get too deep, but it's a lot of low vibrational energy. So I try to stay away from it, you know, because it doesn't empower me. It actually disempowers me and doesn't create that coherency, because it's too much low vibrational energy happening. But the club is made from lust energy. So that's, of course, you know, that energy is low vibrational, and lust has consequences with that energy. We could even go, you know, to wrath when we see like fighting and stuff of that nature. And of course, people want to see it, and it's like, oh, that energy of fighting, and if, you know, but we have to be mindful that those consequences with wrathful energy, those consequences with prideful energy, those consequences to all energy, positive on the positive spectrum or the negative spectrum, they all have consequential interactions, generations, and natural progressions of reality, regardless of how smart we think we are, that we can control it. No, we don't control energy to the level we think. We use it, but we don't control it. We can't recreate it. So we need to understand that. But with energetic perception, you know, this is what I use. And you're able to understand energy, the generation of it, the interaction of it, the consequences of it, and the potential of it, and it helps you navigate through. But it takes a lot of studying, a lot of work. This is what I ultimately do. And the third one is consciousness refining. Consciousness refining is is essentially, and people have been doing this for years, you know, people put like secret societies do this, or, you know, groups that shall not be named do it, where it's like they try to put a person in a specific state of mind so they can see the world differently or gain revelations about the world. But anyone could do consciousness refining. You know, when you fast, you're doing consciousness refining. When you do self-care and put all positive interactions of yourself, that's consciousness refining. Putting yourself in a positive state, in a negative state, putting yourself in an environment to super focus on one concept, you know, relaxation, all this stuff is consciousness refining. And when you consciousness refine, you're able to see things differently. Just how when you're happy, you look at the world differently than when you're sad. But not only look at the world differently, you interpret and comprehend the world differently. Imagine if you're able to refine yourself, retune your consciousness to say, you know what? I'm going to retune my consciousness to look at the world in a positive light, because what I want to understand, comprehend, or feel is within a positive vibration. So let me set up myself, let me position myself, you know, light some candles, run a bath, watch a funny show, and then try to tap into that vibration of positivity, because that's my next step, that's my next level. But that's a form of conscious refining. I use it all the time. When I want to really understand an idea, I immerse myself in that information. I immerse myself with variations of that information. I take actions that's in direct reflection of that intention and information, and it connects me. I have a stronger informative connection to that. But all that goes to consciousness refining. And the reason why it's important is if I want to create good ideas for myself, to create positive experiences, doing that in a negative state, well, I can still do it, but because my consciousness is aligned with negativity, I'm going to create positive outputs of lower quality. But if my consciousness is positive and I look up positive experiences, it's going to create a stronger connective output. I'm going to get better results because my positive consciousness is aligned with my intention. So it all goes to that. So this is what I want to understand. I use probability clouds. I use energetic perception. I use consciousness refining. Everyone uses this to some extent. When you plan your life and your future, that's probability. That's a probability cloud. That's understanding your own potential probability cloud. When you see an angry person and you cross the street, that's energetic perception. And when you want to have a good day, you don't focus on negative things, you focus on positive things. That's consciousness refining. But the thing is, these are, the way I use them is in a very complex and comprehensive way. It's in a higher form of it. And I'm not saying, you know, no one can use these forms. No, anyone can gain their own variation of these forms, of these abilities, and use it for their own life. But these are just 3 abilities that I have tapped into, I've refined to a very high level to help my life and navigate my reality. But those are just mine. There's people who have abilities that I cannot tap into, or they're more natural to. You know, I gain this abilities through natural refinement, not because someone gave them to me. So these were naturally, authentically aligned with me, and I refined them to a great level. Anyone can do this. The power or abilities that human beings have and potentials to refine, create, and higher severity of things is infinite, eternal, and endless. So anyone can create their own variations of powers, abilities, and interactions of this reality that has not yet even manifested or collapsed. You can make a new ability not yet seen or understood. These are just higher severities of what's already happening. You can create something, you know, so just keep that in mind. You're capable of essentially, as long as it's aligned with reality. That's the thing. These 3 things are aligned with reality. We already do it. I'm going to just create a higher level of doing it. So keep that in mind. Align yourself with reality. Understand the reality you're in. And you'll be able to obviously do things of higher quality because you understand the game better. So ultimately, to go over everything is, because I made this video because the current state of the world, I just want to put out my own reflection, my own understanding. And if it can help people, great. You know, I know everything I'm saying has helped me tremendously in my life, and it continues to help me. So, you know, knowing who you are, which is like energetic, which is a divine reflection of source as an energetic core, manifesting form as a human in its current existence. What is reality? Reality is an energetic informative containment system, so creation can interact, exist, and generate, but still have to abide by divine law. That's the containment field. Divine laws is the containment field. And then, what are you capable of? Well, you're capable of a lot of things, a lot of potential abilities that we haven't tapped into and really refined. And ultimately, to find that out, understand your energetic core, and it'll start naturally occurring. You start naturally, wow, I didn't know I could do this, or align with this, or wow, abilities and potential, they just come, they naturally generate as you move through life. So that's pretty much it for the video. You know, I'll probably do some more videos, not sure, but this was just like a brainstorming kind of talk these kind of ideas out kind of video. I have more videos. Go ahead. I have my books on Amazon, Welcome Human, I Should Be Your Guide, and Sacred Images, Leonology. Look them on Amazon. I have, you can Google Leonology if you want to look up some information about it. But yeah, you know, good luck to reality. Good luck to the awakened. Good luck to the chosen ones. Good luck to everyone who's seeking truth. Welcome to the Great Awakening.